All right, look at that. A perfectly executed intro. Thanks to our friends in San Francisco who are actually running the live stream for this thing, which is really the way we should do it because we're just not bright enough to do it ourselves. I don't know. Josh Goldman, thanks for joining us today. Stepping in the last minute. You have some exciting hardware for us. Scott also has some exciting hardware. Julie's been testing some exciting hardware. And I have some slightly less than exciting hardware. And I'm going to start out with that by pointing out that I have right here in my hot little hands what might be the world's last netbook. Remember the netbook computer, Scott? And Josh and actually Julie?
I do.
All too well.
All too well.
Back to
it's a time traveler from
2010.
2007 or 2010 where everybody thought, oh, I can just get a $300 computer. And that was it. So I'm going to tell you about this guy, which is brand new, despite the fact that it looks like it could have come out at any point in the last several years.
It does.
Scott has got the Razer Blade super high-end gaming laptop that we talked about last week, and he's going to try a little live game demo on it to see how it actually works as a gaming laptop.
But it's not going to be with the customizable buttons.
Because almost no games have those customizable buttons.
Right, I'm playing like the Old Republic, which is
you're playing Skyrim.
You can set up customizable buttons on it.
I know. It should come with that.
And there are some that have asset sets, but just to show you how the gaming runs on it. That's all.
I think the fact that popular games don't have button sets on it is important.
Yeah, but you could custom. I'm just saying. For those people who are going to say,
I could turn
use those buttons on this.
I could paint flames on the side of my car too. Doesn't mean my car comes with flames on it. I got to do it myself.
That's true.
I was thinking some sort of like A-Team kit, sort of customizable.
Sure, whatever, man.
Josh has got the very buzzworthy. How would you call it? Lytro camera. Can we see that for a second?
Oh, sure. Here it is.
Oh, sure.
It's going to save photography, Scott. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could. Photography is
save photography from the photographers.
Danger, but yeah, there it is.
I've heard about that camera. That I
just.
Well, we've heard so much about it, and we'll hear more about it from Josh.
And of course, Julie has been testing this netbook, that Razer Blade, and some other fun stuff in the lab, and we'll hear what she has to say with all that stuff. I'm going to start off with the netbook, which Julie just finished running the second battery test on. And compared to all the netbooks you had to test over the last 3 or 4 years, how is this experience different, Julie?
It's just as aggravating as it was the first go around, and actually that sucked.
Whoa, your camera's gone.
I don't know what happened there.
Did we accidentally unplug your camera?
I don't know. Anywho, that sucked worse than.
Boy, that
than
really
the
just
ones
literally
that I
just
had
happened.
All
right, we'll go to the overhead
So
shot.
frustrating that all cameras have gone dark.
Josh's camera's gone too.
Yeah, I don't know.
All of our cameras.
We're being
are going.
sniped one by one.
I know. Wow, this is interesting.
Oh, there we go. Okay, great.
There she is, folks.
Must have been a brownout.
Yeah.
Knocking the power out. Okay, tell me about the netbook.
Oh, nothing. It just sucked worse than any other netbook that I've gotten in the past
ever
2 years, 2.5 years. It wasn't fun. Let's just say that.
Is it a little faster than the other Atom processors?
No, that's the thing.
The same thing.
It was just as frustrating, if not more so. And
is the battery life any better?
Battery life is consistent with all netbooks. It'll run. This one ran for 10 hours and some change.
Did these things cost less money?
Well, they still cost $300, which is about as cheap as you could possibly put a screen and a keyboard together for.
It's still the same price range that it's always been.
So frozen in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was the odd thing.
Kind of backwards too, because it came with 1 gig of RAM.
I got to say, now that you have so many tablets out there that are a little more functional, and the iPad 2 dropped in price,
$399 this versus $299. Would you trade up to an iPad? Look at the design here. It's exactly the same as these things have been for years. It is frozen in time. You're entirely correct.
You can write on that with a keyboard, but the processor, nothing's changed. And it's weird
they
to
get
me
a little more power efficient. Maybe there's a slight improvement in performance, but these are still Intel Atom processors. They're not doing anything that special. And that's the reason why the last Intel Atom laptop that we reviewed before this was in June 2011. Mm-hmm. And that was actually a Chromebook. Mm-hmm. You might have written that review, Josh.
You reviewed that one.
I did review that.
And so no one has sent us an Intel Atom Windows laptop since months before that, probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's a little surprising that this is...
Does that mean Intel's just with
the
those,
Atom?
No, because this is a brand new version of the Atom. I think it's called the
2600.
Ivy Trail, something Trail, Cedar Trail.
Cedar Trail.
I don't know. It sucks. That's all I gotta say.
Suck trail.
It's a suck trail.
It sucks.
No, I mean, there used to be a place for these because they went out and they said, oh, these are kind of like, you can get a secondary computer or one for your kids or a travel machine. And and everyone's like, oh, I can spend $300 on a laptop instead of $1,000. That's great.
And there were no tablets at that point.
And there were no
Yeah.
tablets.
There were no
iPads.
Actually, the first time I saw one were kids on a plane playing
Yeah.
with one. So
But the problem is they oversold it, as they always do anything fad-like, and they try to convince people that's all you needed. You could just do everything on this, and that turned out not to be the case, and people were disappointed. If they kept the expectations down to what a netbook should do, then it might not have. It was like anything. They kind of oversaturated the market, and then it crashed.
I think at this point, I know the margins are apparently as tight as they can be, but still drop the price. If you want these things to exist right now,
Yeah, you can get down to $250.
$199. I would say $199 for some of these things.
Throw it in as like buy a $1,000 laptop, get one of these for free.
Yeah.
Pretty
No,
much.
they're not gonna
It
get
should
to
be part of a
$199.
bundle. Yeah, it should be part of a bundle.
But if it's going to
Get rid of
perform like
it.
an Atom netbook and it's not,
yeah, no.
But if you've been making the same thing for 5 years,
there's no point.
but there's no point in what, making it at that price or making them?
There's no point in making it, and
That's
and-
true.
Yeah, there's just no point.
There's no point in making it. I'm saying if it exists right now.
but this is the only one. I haven't seen another new netbook announcement in a long time. This was odd.
Did you ask them why they made it, or?
Well, this was because they were at CES and they had no other. ASUS had no other laptops to announce.
This is
So this is the
ASUS,
thing
man.
thing they.
this their
this is the only thing
brand?
they had.
ASUS started this
That's
crap.
true. They brought the netbook into the world and they're
They're
going to take it out.
It's like the fact that there were Walkman for 2 decades or whatever. How long were there Walkman?
I
I
don't.
mean, they're still making
time.
iPods, even though most people don't
Not
buy
anymore,
those.
or 3 decades. Yeah. So, yeah, keep that brand alive.
So I'm not super excited about this particular system. I mean, it is what it is.
We actually tried bringing a netbook recently
Mm-hmm.
onto a plane because I wanted to use the iPad and Joanna was going somewhere else. So we had a netbook kicking around and we actually relived the experiment. She took it with her on the trip, play movies, all that stuff. She's not doing it again.
No, and then for $100 more, the same $399 as the iPad 2 is now.
Yeah.
You can get one of those AMD 11-inch ultra portables. That's a lot better.
You
You
have
bought
one.
one of those too.
Yes.
Look at this. You are Mr. Example for all this thing, for all these
Yeah,
things.
no, I've never had a netbook.
He's like you bought every.
Yeah, no,
bought
I've
the
never had a
DM
netbook.
You bought the
was,
DM1.
It was. I
Right.
do have the DM1.
And you reviewed the last Atom laptop, so there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't know.
You're
I
done with
wouldn't-
these.
But those are great. That's a different beast. Those 11-inch ultra portables. That's a
Yeah,
better
I mean,
machine.
and it got, like I said last time I was on it, it got me through CES just fine.
Yeah.
But would you trust your
So-
CES to one of these?
No,
no,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we've said what we can.
I would agree. Before
done
we
our
jump
due
to
diligence.
before we jump to Scott's laptop,
Which
let's
I-
take a look at this Lytro here, which I know we've all heard a lot about, but I don't know if
Sure.
we've really done a lot of live
is the one.
demoing on
No,
our
we
shows here.
haven't, But I mean, there's really nothing. There's not much to it. You turn it on. Look, I can take a Lytro photo of Dan.
By the way, nice watch. I know I'm not supposed to be looking at
So-
that, but your watch is also quite something.
So everybody, I just shot that photo. We're just gonna. Is that gonna show up?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
Process.
Nice.
All right. So there we've got the. So it's gonna focus on that, and then focus on Dan. See that? Did everybody see it?
Oh, you can do it
Change
right within that.
focus?
Let me see that again.
Well,
Oh, we can, and
There we
then
go.
you can
So
embed.
now-
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
so
I
now
see
it's
that.
focused on the mic,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll tap on Dan, and Dan.
Now, how does it do that? Can you explain the background here?
It's software and magic.
Software and magic and ponies.
Unicorns.
I like ponies.
Yeah, it's light field technology. Basically, it's a regular camera sensor, but they've fitted it with these micro lenses,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows it to capture
Is it essentially
light
taking
from,
a whole bunch of photos at once
no,
and just sort of?
no, one shot.
Okay.
But it's pulling light from all directions. So it's gathering all the light from all directions. And
Uh-huh.
So it allows you to do stuff like shoot without focusing.
Because it has the information that it needs in order to
Yes.
set that
Directional
focus
info.
later.
That's where the software comes in. They take the software and process the images, and then you get that whole.
Are there an infinite
Hokey
number
pokey
of
thing.
focus points?
Not infinite, but
A lot?
there's a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot of. I mean, for your average photo, you're only going to be able to focus
Sure.
in like 3 places.
Well, because when I thought it was sort of like almost like taking like photo data for all the different shots it could
It
take.
is,
Oh,
yes.
so it is.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah, but it's
Okay.
not taking multiple shots. It's just taking one shot. It is not
With the freedom of focusing wherever after.
exactly. Yeah, using software.
Showing those pictures, I mean, certain pictures that are embedded, like Dan was saying, that you can see on certain pages that have the dollar bills stretching out towards you, or so.
Yeah.
It's an impressive effect at first, although a little obviously kind of gimmicky because how many times are you really going to use that and need it? I could see maybe like sports photography or
and
certain types of shots.
That's the thing is that right now, and everybody's go, oh, it's a one-trick pony, and it's not really a one-trick pony. It does several things, and the fact is that they'll be able to keep updating the software and do more and more
Right.
with the images. So right now, yeah, it's you poke in the front, you poke in the back, and you get
And you get a thing, you get a
yeah.
picture.
So I mean, it runs out, but basically, what I think will happen, at least initially, is you'll end up with a bunch of user groups that like Lytro fans, like people who shoot with 3D cameras, have a group,
I know everyone's probably asked you this already, and you've already probably answered it multiple times.
Maybe.
But the question of can you the feasibility of taking that technology and putting it into
Yes, it
embedding
can be
into
done.
into a point and shoot. Yeah.
Yes, and
But will
and a
anyone do it?
smartphone. I don't know.
Or
I
smartphone.
mean,
Smartphone, I could see.
I'm sure that's what they're
Lytro
hoping
licensing or making their own point and shoot type
for. The
camera.
thing is, it requires so much processing power to do it. It's not going to be
So it's really all in the processing power, not so much in the actual lens.
right. Exactly. It's in the micro lenses on top of the sensor and their ability to process that information.
So it's it's a combination of hardware and software. You couldn't just make this a software update to an existing product.
Right. Exactly.
Would you need a very deep barrel because of that? I mean,
No,
so do you actually
Yeah,
need
why
No,
is it
they
why is
don't.
it shaped like this?
A couple reasons, but for the main one that I was told was that the main one I was told was that no was that
Not that
it
way.
allowed you to gather as much light as possible for their first camera to
You're holding it wrong.
he's really not.
No,
but
no.
I'm just
you're-
kidding. It's a joke.
But you're not. You have to be about 6 inches away from your closest subject for you to get a good refocusing effect.
No macro.
I
No
understand, I
macro for
understand.
this then.
No, there is macro.
There's macro.
Yeah. You just have to change to a creative mode, and
Creative.
you can shoot macro shots.
I like the feel of it though. It's got
Yeah.
a nice sort of feel in the hand, and it's sort of like Here,
You
Scott.
can
tell me what
you can
think
get
about that.
right up to your subject with the macro mode.
It does have nice gadget feel.
It does have a nice gadget. feel.
Rubbery smooth here.
And how much does this
nice
cost?
heft.
And it's a little awkward at first, but that one, that's
Yeah.
the 16 gig is $499, and
Okay.
the 8 gig is $399.
And then how do you get the pictures off there? Because I don't see a plug or a port or anything.
There is a port. on
Okay,
there.
what is it? Just a micro USB?
Yeah, and software only works with Mac OS right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
Okay, but you can still embed there's some sort of embedding tool for embedding the images onto websites.
Yeah, actually, what you need to do is you have to use their software to offload the photos. And when you offload the photos, the software they give you processes
All right.
the
So
image.
we'll throw that picture you took in our podcast blog post
Sure.
I
so
don't
people
want
can
one
see it.
until it's embedded in my own skull like this.
Yeah, that might be fun.
So I am half Lytro.
Yeah.
I would want to say
He's Tetsuro, the Iron Scott.
Really,
Yes.
for me, I mean, the refocusing thing, the ability to poke around in the images is fun. But for me, the real nice part is the instant shoot. You don't have to focus. You can just shoot.
Can I say outside the box? My thought is that, first of all, I think ergonomically, there's a little bit of like a what am I going to do with this? How am I going to hold it feel?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like if you're out and about, it almost feels like a camcorder, but there's no real palm grip. You're going to hold it between your fingers like a big cigar.
Perhaps,
What do
Scott.
you-
I ended up holding it like a sandwich.
like that.
Yeah, perhaps, Scott, if you were on either the Nina, the Pinto, perhaps the Santa Maria, you
Right.
could stand on the bow and look through it,
Spyglass
Yeah,
perhaps.
searching
and
searching for the new
that's
world.
Pretty much how But check out the viewing angle on the LCD. Just
Is it good or not good?
no, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's like a regular bad LCD.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It could be better.
It's
It's a first
tiny,
generation product.
It's tiny and small. There's no.
The second
All right,
good
Josh,
reason
save your
for that.
photography or cheap gimmick?
I don't think it's a cheap gimmick. I don't think it's a saving.
All right.
First
None of the
all,
above.
Why I don't think that is because I don't think photography needs saving.
Oh.
So, well,
Right.
no, it's not that.
Kidding,
It's
kidding.
No, I think my point is that more and more people they might be shooting with their smartphones, but a lot of those people are getting more interested in photography because they're shooting with their smartphones. So they are actually trading up to real cameras.
That's a good point. It's
I'm
almost
sorry,
like your
cameras.
smartphone is like a gateway drug for photography.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Ooh, I like that.
And
Has someone written that story? That's a good story.
no, but the crappy point and shoots at the low end are disappearing.
Sure.
But people love mega zoom cameras, and they want 20x zoom lenses, and you can't do that with a smartphone. And that's one of the few areas that the manufacturers are seeing growth in is anything with a long zoom lens.
Very cool.
I tell my two like outside the box applications in the real world. I feel like for this one, security cameras.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like the ultimate see everything later. Secondly, I feel like they could add a second and build this into a pair of binoculars. Because usually when you have binoculars, you are dealing with depth of field a lot. Why could they develop a binocular camera where you could use it, spy something, and then take photos? I just feel like the form factor.
Who are you
You're looking at like I'm
stalking?
crazy.
Who are you
Yeah, I know,
stalking,
really.
Scott?
Birds, I'm bird watching.
Who are you rear
Like George
windowing?
McFly, I'm just bird watching.
Just
I mean,
bird watching,
I
man.
mean,
I don't know. You
It
looked at me
actually-
like I'm insane.
no, it just. I mean, I don't know that it would. I'm not sure
If
what
it-
you wanted to do.
I feel like binoculars have a little
I'm
wheel
just
on
saying,
them
like,
to
like
focus.
if you had this Lytro technology built into a pair of binoculars, I just feel like the form factor.
And what would be the
And because you're dealing with depth of field, I'm often turning the focus on
Right.
binoculars, or I'm dealing with.
right, well, this
focal
doesn't.
distance.
You don't do anything with depth of field in this. You just shoot
But I'm saying it's all about depth of field. So if you had this in a
After
pair
the
of
fact.
binoculars,
after the fact.
right?
I feel like the little
Yeah,
wheel might be
they-
more
it's,
efficient.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't like that idea.
Oh,
We don't like that
I don't
idea,
know.
Scott.
They're-
He's just
Sony's got
confused.
binoculars with cameras in them if you want. If that,
Wouldn't this be a better one?
I'm not sure why.
All right, gentlemen.
Here's
I,
your-
I would like to see something else here that's very exciting, and that is this Razer Blade laptop we talked about last week. Scott, I
we
believe,
showed
was
it
going
last
to.
week.
We did. Now we're going
Yeah.
to see some gaming on it because we had some concern that the graphics were not powerful enough
Right. Let me
to
say.
really do that. Scott's going to set up this laptop over here. We're going to
But
point his
it's
camera
got
at the
this really
screen.
cool thing on the back.
It does, and it's
that-
green.
Yeah,
Nice
that
logo.
automatically means
If you make your
it's,
light thing green, then I'm
our
all in.
camera's about to go.
It's going to show graphics on it, and Rich Brown was setting it up too. He was a big PC gamer.
Playing
and,
Skyrim on here.
Set it to pretty
Not bad, actually. It's better than it looked. It was choppy when I was playing. It looks a little better now.
like pretty high. I don't have a mouse with me, so sorry. Like not highest settings, not ultra settings, but
So it's
but
playable,
up there. But it's playable. Look,
but not
I
as
mean,
good as you get on a super high-end system.
Yeah,
but that's pretty
you have
good.
some choppiness, but the screen looks fantastic. I mean, the clarity,
Mhm.
the crispness on the screen really.
It's the
I think-
matte. It's
yeah,
the matte
the matte-
screen, man.
A matte
I
and
thought you just
viewing
said
angles.
the Christmas.
the Christmas.
No.
The Christmas on this screen.
The Christmas. It's a Christmas
It's like
screen.
Christmas.
No, it's crisp. It is very crisp, and
It is.
That's-
I feel embedded.
but sure, it's not. This is not a screaming gaming experience, but it's absolutely playable. So there you go.
Ooh, that
Um,
tapestry looks fantastic.
Yeah, look
But
at
again, as you point out, Scott, the big selling point, which is that these custom OLED little buttons, they don't have a Skyrim set right now. So if in this game, for example,
Oh,
you
there's
wouldn't
no
get anything
mapping?
extra out of that.
there
There's
is
no
no.
map
You
for
you
Skyrim?
can map to anything. So I don't want to
Right, I know that,
impression
but
you
it's not
can't.
like there's a Skyrim button set you can
right.
just call up.
You don't. Yeah. From what we saw.
I mean, you get a little standalone macro
I'll get an email from
keypad
Razer in
and
a
make.
few moments if
I know,
if
and that's
there
why
isn't.
that's why I'm taking the hit for you, Scott, by pointing out
I know. You're very
the
honest.
weakness of the system.
But yeah, they think they said about 10 to 15 games overall they're gonna have those. And what you really
They're
wanna
going
do,
to. How many do they have now?
and not that many. So
Right. I mean, don't tell me you're gonna have 10 at some point. That doesn't do me any good.
it should be around this time. But the number of what you want to do is install this and have all this work. And frankly, you want the second screen to work.
I want the
which right
biggest
now-
PC game of the last year to have a custom button set already.
And ideally, you'd even want that second screen to pop up and do things in the game.
There's a lot of stuff in Skyrim
on
you
the
could do.
touchpad, yeah. But I have to say though, and I said this before, we're talking about hands-on. I really thought that having a screen be the touchpad for whatever reason, I thought would make it a non-responsive surface, and it actually is very responsive compared to other touchpads. I thought so. It's
And I like how the 10
highly
buttons
useful.
look. I mean, the light up buttons that you can put any kind of graphic image on. That's great.
Yeah.
but I'd love to have, like the Skyrim button set ready to go, or whatever else you're playing, Mass Effect 3, I don't know.
And let's be frank, if the graphics, I'm just going to say if the graphics were up to, if you could get the fastest set of graphics with this type of interface, I still think that would be the ideal thing. There are people who are going to want that.
But for a laptop this thin, that's pretty good.
And it's not configurable, right? It's just
I have one model, and that's it.
Yeah.
One model. But there are people, I think, that I would bet, would trade off the thinness and say, you know what, I'll take something twice as thick. Give me those top-end graphics.
For the power.
Yeah, give me an optical drive and high-end graphics. I don't care. I like the look of your laptop. I like the cut of your jib. And, give me the rest. I think it just almost forces an unneeded compromise for the first-gen laptop, if I may say. But the review, this is all...
And for $2,800, I'm just saying.
It's
Correct.
It's got,
man.
Well, there
it
you go.
definitely feels nice, but it is it's expensive.
It's almost like the Lytro. It's a kind of proof of concept in a way, and we'll see what people do with it. Well, I'm very excited about that. Certainly more so than my netbook. Arguably more so than the Lytro, but I like the Lytro too. I have another big topic actually to bring up real fast. I heard you and Dave Carnoy discussing the prospective arrival dates of your iPad 3s. Apparently, FedEx has been sending out tracking numbers. I posted one on Twitter
dude.
before.
It's the new iPad.
It's the new iPad, man.
Yeah, it's
New
the new
iPad.
iPad. That's what it's called. It's
I
not
know.
the iPad
No,
3.
I'm gonna
I
wait
know.
a minute. I'm gonna correct you. I'm gonna read you.
It's third generation iPad.
Dear customer, this is an email from the Apple Store. I'm going
Yeah.
to read you.
Oh.
Dear customer,
Did I set them up and I didn't even know it?
you did not.
I can tell you this.
We're
Yeah.
happy to let you know that the items below are on their way to you. We also included delivery estimates and tracking information next to your shipping address. Thank you for your time and for shopping with Apple, the Apple Store. And the product listed, iPad with Wi-Fi, 32 gig black, parentheses, third generation.
Okay,
Right,
so
and you go to
it's
Apple's
not
website.
iPad.
They're calling it
says
iPad,
iPad third
third
generation.
generation.
Okay, so all right.
Which
And then
makes
if you-
sense. Any of the iPod Touches, that's what we call them. iPad
Yeah.
third generation, fourth generation.
Yeah.
You may want to zoom out a bit.
Oh,
Are we? Wow. Like
good.
deep in my snarling maw.
Oh, man.
Ah. I apologize, everyone out there, for
Now-
that weird moment.
when you click on the FedEx tracking information, it says in this particular case, I don't know what Scott's says, but let's see, standard overnight, indirect. Oh, that's interesting. I never heard a FedEx thing say indirect
They're
before.
not giving it to you, man.
Signature required.
Long
Yeah.
trip up to Canada
They're
and then
sending
back
it to
again.
somebody else, and they're going to deliver it.
All right, March 10th, shipment information sent to FedEx. Later March 10th, picked up in Middletown, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Detail, future delivery requested, which means even though it's in FedEx's hands,
Right.
Scott, you probably won't get your iPad third generation until Friday, though they're telling FedEx to
Neither
not
will
deliver
you.
it.
We're all
or
gonna
or
get
anyone
them all-
else.
yeah.
I'm not admitting or denying
Dan's
that
trying
I
to
might
tell
have
you
one.
something.
I-
Dan's
can
trying
I-
to tell you something.
Can I admit on your behalf then? And
I don't know what you're talking about. But
I don't-
perhaps
you-
next
you
week
can't
we can,
out other people and then hide behind your blurred out order information.
perhaps
So-
next week we can discuss what's happening to people's iPad 2s.
We could share sizes that we ordered.
Yes, that's right.
We can trade size
Why
stories.
does that sound dirty?
I know, really.
Size story sounds very dirty.
Sizes.
I will look. I'll even go on the record and tell you. I'll tell you that I ordered. I'll tell you that I even ordered the 64, and that sounds insane.
Wow.
It is probably
It does,
insane
right?
and
Yeah.
stupid. The reason I did it is because 2 years running, I've used the 32 and I've maxed it out. Now,
Really?
I think it's like a messy desk syndrome, or anything else. If you're messy, your desk is twice the size. Your desk will continue to be messy. If you shrink down a quarter size, or it's like budget.
But that
so
means
live
you'll get a
within your
64
means.
and you're going to fill up 64 then.
Probably. Now,
See,
I
but
mean,
now
Joe,
that the cloud stuff, now that you can delete TV shows and even apps and get them anytime you want, that's a lot better.
Yeah, but I find when it comes to cloud, I know apparently game saves are stored in the cloud. I find a lot of app data gets funky. I delete something and reinstall it. It doesn't always, a lot of these apps now you're living in them with downloadable purchases.
Yeah.
And files and everything else, and so I don't know.
No, that's a good point.
I might regret it. The way I'm saying to myself, this is as expensive as $100 extra experiment, but we just cover so many games and other stuff. I think for most people, though, I would agree, go with the 32. I think 64 is.
Not the 16? Too small?
I don't think you should go with the 16.
I
no,
agree.
No.
If you're already paying, also I think
Yes.
if you're going to go with the 16, then just get the iPad 2.
Oh, yeah,
Admit
$399.
you're that
Way to
type
go.
of person. I mean, in the sense of like, no, I'm saying like you're a budget shopper. It's terrible, but if you're a budget shopper, I think it's there for you, and it'll give you great experience. I think with the file size increases and everything else, I just think it sounds terrible. But look, I'm that kind of person with the Kindle. I was a cheapie. I went with the $79 Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to buy the ad-free.
That's right, Scott. Admit you're that kind of person.
I admitted I was that kind of person with the Kindle.
I want the ads on my Kindle.
So I just think like mitigating it by saying I'm going to get the new cool one, but the 16 gig. I just think it's with the photos and video editing and the stuff they're hawking on that.
So this segment is Scott's advice for poor people. That's what it is. Are you part of the 1%, Scott?
I just thought you were supposed to. I mean, they were doing 16 gig because you're supposed to store everything in
on the cloud, man.
Cloud, yeah.
You are, but here's the thing: if you're dealing with, well, it depends. If you don't care about video editing, then you're probably fine. But that video editing stuff, on the iPhone 4S, a 2-minute video comes in at like 370 megabytes.
Yeah.
If you're going to edit any significant video with iMovie on an iPad, if you have dreams of that, then especially the footage you didn't shoot on it, you're going to deal with gigabytes of stuff.
Yeah, you probably need at least 32.
I just think you're going to end up in a point where you would say, oh, I just want to, how do I offload this? And then you're going to, because they don't store that home video stuff in the cloud. But yeah, for movies, it's true. You could trade them out. Although I did discover, and Greg Sandoval reported this already, that not all movies are re-downloadable right now.
Okay, because of weird licensing restrictions.
Licensing things. So half the movies I purchased, I can't re-download.
I was able to get my Justified season 1 episodes now that I'm watching it with Libby. Josh, iPad for you? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, good. Julie, you're still no iPad for you.
Nope.
Not even the $399
Nope.
iPad 2.
Nope.
Do you know if our pal Joey, who buys everything, is going to get an iPad 3?
No, he's not. He's staying.
Okay.
He's skipping.
He's saying that now.
He's skipping the
He said he wasn't going to get the iPad 2 either, and then he showed up with it.
but his boy had him. Like he had like 3 of them, and
I got
he literally got it
something
delivered.
happened.
He literally got it delivered to
All right.
the job. So.
All right, gentlemen, ladies, we've gone over. I do have one final plug to throw in here for a friend of ours, Scott. Not Scott Stein, but the person he is often confused with, Scott Steinberg,
Does seem like
who
my alter
also
ego.
writes about games and technology and stuff. He has a book coming out tomorrow, and he writes these books, and they're about all
Josh,
kinds of...
catch my camera quick. It's saying auto power off.
Scott Steinberg is more in shape than
I see
me,
it blinking.
but I have a thicker coif.
Anyway, his new book, The Modern
I've got
Parent's Guide to Kids and Video Games,
Yes.
comes out March 13th. It is a free ebook. Apparently, you can get it on iBooks, on Amazon, and also from
Moving my camera away from me.
parentsguidebooks.com. So there you go. Scott writes for USA Today sometimes, and CNN, and generally a good guy. Scott and I have known him for years.
Yeah, I actually
And,
worked with him. He wrote stuff for Maxim back when I was in
okay.
there a long time ago.
So
Scott's
friend of
pretty
the podcast. Check out Scott Stein's new book, Modern Parents Guide to Kids and Video Games,
Steinberg.
at parentsguidebooks.com. Did I say?
You said Scott Stein. Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
confused
you-
all the
yeah.
time.
I wrote
Oh
a
my
book.
God.
Wow, Scott, when did this
Yeah,
happen?
check
All
it
right.
out.
Well, there you go. Everyone, thank you for joining us today, and hopefully we'll do it again next week and the week after until they tell us to stop coming in and doing it. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
So the feed.
I'm Scott Skyrim.
Scott.
I love it.